I think we're on.
Hi, girl.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. Feels like a Sunday to me.
Yeah, it was half a day of work today, but which, a little bit unusual, but that's okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm
Yay.
Michelle Kemp.
Shifra Morgan.
And we are going to do a question and answer. We got some questions here that people have asked us.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised at the responses that we've gotten.
Yeah. And they're sort of questions that I'm like, oh, people want to know that.
Yeah, yes, that's why I kind of doing that.
But the first question, I'll let you answer that because you're the one with the weird name.
Yeah. Okay, so the first question was, how did you get your name? Well, Rama. He would, after a baby was born, he would have the baby brought up to him, and he would pray and anoint it with oil and
olive oil.
Olive oil, yeah, and give it its name. Now, some babies, it took a little bit for him to name them, like come up with a name. Other babies, it was right away. Some babies, he said, the parents could name because apparently babies were unclean, or they came about in a bad way. So, like, and what I mean by bad
it
way,
was like a punishment if the parents got to name the kid.
Yes, that's what I mean by so yeah, if the parents got to name the kid, it was pretty much a bad thing, not a good thing at all. And so yeah, that's how I got my name, and most of the names that he got came from the Old Testament.
Do you know where in the Bible your name is from?
So my name comes from I was the midwife that Pharaoh told all the Hebrew midwives to kill all the firstborn or all the boy babies or something like that. And I was the midwife, or the midwife with my name was the midwife that lied to Pharaoh and told him that the Jewish women were not like the Egyptian women, and that what Jewish women were strong. And by the time the midwives got there, the babies were usually already born. So they couldn't kill the baby like he wanted. So then that's when all the babies were supposed to be drowned in the river. And
then that's when Moses came along.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was the head midwife of
Shifra. Yeah. That's where Shifra comes.
Yeah.
Okay. My name is biblical too. People don't know that. Originally, my name was spelled like Michael. There are other girls in our cult with that name too, Michal. It's actually more prevalent, and girls are being called Michael now. It's actually more prevalent than people know. But I was the first one to ever know that I had that name. But I was always called Michelle, not Michael.
Yeah.
And the name, Rama gave me the name, and I don't think I was there. I'd have to ask my sister for sure, but I don't believe I was there. I believe that I was at home with my mother. It was a weekend that the wives must have stayed home, and my dad was in Chano, and my dad asked Rama what to name the baby, and Rama said to name me Mitchell, because with his accent, that's how he said it. And so if my dad would have would have said that, would have gone with that, then my name would have been Mitchell, just like some other people's names have been.
Yeah.
But my dad said, "What's that you say?" Whatever, and kept trying to get it out of him. And then my dad goes, "Oh, you mean Michelle?" And Rama said, yeah, however you say it. And that name and that spelling in particular comes from the book of Samuel.
Okay.
And she was Saul's daughter and David's wife.
Okay. All right.
So that's where that name and that spelling comes from. The only people that ever actually pronounce that name right come from Europe and the Middle East.
Okay.
The Westerners, this country, never ever pronounces that name right.
Well, I've only met one person with my name, and she was a foreign exchange student from Israel going to college at UWGB when my bio mom was going, and I had to go with.
When I was growing up, I hated the name. I've hated the name my whole life, or at least not my name, but the spelling of it, because I've always been assumed to be a boy. I was teased mercilessly about it. I hated it.
Yeah.
So the first time I could, I changed the spelling.
How old were you?
I was an adult.
Okay.
And so I took the spelling of my grandpa's name his name is Michael.
Okay.
But in Italy, his name was spelled Michele, which is pronounced Michela in Italian.
Okay. All right.
So that has meaning for me. So that's where that name came from. So I kind of had a say in that name too, but in a roundabout way.
Nice. So my name was spelled so weird. Not even my English teachers could spell it. Anyway, so when I was adopted, I had the spelling of my name changed. And then I did not have a middle name. And so my mom gave me her middle name. And so that's where my name is now, is Shifra Lynn. And of course, Morgan is my last name.
And some kids didn't even get middle names.
No, a lot of kids didn't get middle names.
Yeah, they just had their first name and that was it. They didn't get middle names.
Yep. In fact, I don't think. Well, I think the other ones who did have a middle name were either an initial or the first name of.
Yeah, one of your brothers just has an initial.
Yeah, and then the rest are Sarah, her name, their mom's name.
Yeah, well, that was later.
Yeah, the younger ones.
That was later. That was much later. That he I think he got tired of naming names and then just started just giving them their. I don't know.
I don't know what to think anymore.
Who knows?
Too many. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, but
then there was some kids. There was this span of kids that had all of these Jewish, authentic Jewish names.
Yep.
And then they had siblings that didn't have authentic Jewish names. Yep. It's just bizarre. Yep. But anyway, back on track. So. Number 2 question.
I'll let you answer this because you'll know. Let me give this one because I'm going to let you answer this because I think you will answer this way better than me.
Okay.
Okay. Did you guys have a dress code? What was allowed or not allowed?
Yes, we had a dress code. And it was strict. And it got stricter. So in the very beginning, women were to wear their hair up. It had to be pulled all the way back. And when it got long enough, then it had to be rolled into a bun in the back. So all of this hair had to be pinned back. So barrettes, bobby pins, whatever you had, and then pulled back. And then you had to wear blouses that buttoned up to the neck and had, sleeves. And then you had to wear skirts. You didn't have.
How long were the skirts?
In the very beginning, there wasn't a code where they had to be down to the knee length, because I've seen lots of pictures where they weren't knee length. And however, that quickly changed because, and I don't know when. I don't know when, because we were allowed to wear short skirts when we were working.
Yes.
Like
but they had to be like knee length.
Right. They had to be below the knee.
Yeah.
But for worship services, they had to be much lower, much longer. Or at least for the Sunday services, they had to be like ankle length.
Yeah.
They could not have print. They couldn't be printed. They had to be all solid color. Women's blouses had to be light. So white, tan, light tan, off-white, light
blue,
light pink. In the very beginning, Rama allowed the color red, but very quickly into the mid 80s, it was barred because it was the color of blood. Or I've heard other things too. I know that red was my mom's favorite color, and he allowed her. We got a 1977 Nova, and Rama allowed her to pick her favorite color. So we had a red Nova.
Okay.
But then sometime after that, red was banned. So do you notice red is my favorite color? Let's see, what else was there?
I remember that they even had rules. I know sometimes we could get away with like the blouse that had the rounded collar versus the pointed collar. Do you remember anything like that?
And I don't know if I don't remember that part or if I didn't care.
Okay.
But I don't know if I remember that as being a sticking point as much, or maybe if that was a sticking point after I was 18.
The only reason why I remember it is because I was little enough to want to wear, like, look at other girls' clothes or whatever and go, oh, I really like that. Because we made all of our clothes. And so some moms could sew better than others.
Yeah.
And so I used to be kind of jealous of one of the little girls that was there, and her blouse always had rounded collars, and I remember wishing that I could wear a rounded collar, but
I sewed a lot too. I sewed a lot too, and I made all of our collars pointed.
Okay.
I don't remember making them rounded at all.
And I do remember, like, for a little bit they were allowed and then they weren't allowed. And I don't remember why, but I just remember like it was stopped and me going, like, being a little upset that I never got to wear the rounded collar.
And okay, so that was women.
Yeah, men.
And then the men, they had to shave their hair short. They couldn't have any facial hair. Women couldn't wear makeup of any kind. No jewelry save your wedding ring.
Yeah.
Same with men.
Yeah.
Men had to wear like uniform pants, so like Dickies or like work pants,
Cargo pants.
work pants, and those kind of shirts too, button up. I think plaid was okay for working and for outside of services.
Okay.
I think I remember them. And some of these rules too kind of depended on who you were.
Yep. Yep.
And so that's all you have. So that's what you have to remember too. Like when I think about this, I'm like, well, was that the person that I'm remembering this stuff on? Were they in more favor than the other people, or So the rules waxed and waned depending on who was in favor and who was closer to Rama, and then they fell out of favor, and then the girls had to have their head shaved and got their clothes all burned, and what time, what month, what year, what month, what when was that? But generally speaking, that that's what the shoes, we couldn't wear tennis shoes. They all had to be like slip-ons that we could take, those like penny loafers that looked stupid and like we looked poor.
Yes.
Everything was plain. Then as like the little girls, little boys, as they were, like toddlers and whatever, they could get away with like clothes that had straps. But as they got older,
boys could wear bib overalls.
Yeah, they could get away wearing those.
Yeah.
And girls could wear the dresses that had the
the jumper,
that had a bodice and then a skirt, those dresses.
Yeah.
But then once they get to be like elementary school age, they couldn't wear them anymore. They had to be skirt and blouse. And at a certain point, Rama had a frickin' fit because mothers were giving their daughters bras, and apparently his daughter wasn't wearing bras yet, so none of us could wear bras. And so we couldn't wear bras anymore. And I don't know when we were allowed or why or how or whatever, but apparently we all did eventually do that. But then he had this confidential meeting with just mothers and daughters, which looking back now sounds so creepy.
Yeah.
He had this like meeting with just us where he said that we then all had to wear slips over our bras, and we couldn't wear anything too see-through.
Yeah.
So even if it was white, it had to be a thicker material so we couldn't see through it too much. And that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so we could never
that.
We could never wear just a bra with our blouse on top. Everything had to be covered. Why? Because Rama would have dirty thoughts?
Probably.
And then in the same kind of meetings we talked about what kind of like menstrual pads we could use. And oh my God, it was so disgusting and uncomfortable. And
how old were you when you guys had that?
I don't know, 14.
Wow.
13.
Okay.
13, 14.
Okay.
It was gross.
Well, I remember what kind of there was. They were only allowed one kind of pad, and it was that big old maxi pad.
It was like, well, there were times, probably not your age, but in our age group, they still had those freaking pads where you stuck them through tabs and hoisted it up on a belt. Stupid. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're allowed sweaters.
Oh yes, that was one thing.
They had to be cable knit. They had to be cable knit sweaters, and they had to be all drab colors. They had to be dark blue, black, like navy blue, black, dark gray, brown, dark tan. You couldn't wear hoodies.
No, you weren't. I mean, other than your blouse, your skirt, socks. I don't remember. They had to be plain. They couldn't be all pattern or anything.
Yeah, you couldn't have any patterns.
I remember black or white.
Yeah. Then, going further, there was more stuff that was taken away after I became 18. Okay. And I don't know for sure or enough to speak on that. Okay. We would have to talk to somebody that was there. Okay. But it just became very restrictive. Yeah.
Well, I remember at one point in time, the girls were able to have short sleeves and then we weren't.
Oh yes. Yep. Then that's right. That's another thing. We could have long sleeves or short sleeves, but then all of a sudden we couldn't have them. They had to be long sleeves.
Yep. And then at one point in time when we first did the long sleeves, when they did the long sleeves, they had the cuffs to begin with, and then the cuffs had to they were like the pretty cuffs rounded, and then that was taken away and it was just straight, like ugly, like thing.
I remember only having long skirts and then rolling them up at the elastic to make them short skirts.
Yeah.
Because like we would haul those huge 5-gallon buckets of water in the field in long skirts and those huge Fleet Farm boots.
Yeah.
How hot and hard is that? So we would just roll our skirts up. I wasn't the only one. We would roll them up to make them short and go that way, and then just pay attention for the adults to come,
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3.
All right.
If you couldn't go to the doctor, does that mean you couldn't go to the dentist too?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. No dentist either.
No dentist, no doctors. If you got hurt, you asked permission. If you were lucky, you got to go. I can't tell you how many stories of kids getting hurt and Rama praying and pouring olive oil over their head and saying, "You're good to go. Go back and fight your mama."
If you lost your tooth, you lost your tooth.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of, head bangs.
I don't remember if people got cavities. I remember my parents going to the dentist when they had teeth break, and I remember them getting crowns. So I think they were allowed to go when big things took place, but there was nothing preventative.
Yeah, no, nothing, no.
And one of my teeth became abscessed when I was like 14 or 15. We were being homeschooled, and I remember this whole side of my face was swollen, and my eye was almost closed, and it just throbbed. It was awful. It was abscessed tooth, and so I had to get that fixed. So I went to the dentist, and then I had to go to an endodontist to do a root canal and all that. So I did get that. Okay. So, like medical things, yes, we went to the doctor, but not unless You
It
were
was
like,
danger.
yeah, you were like in pain and were about to commit suicide.
Yeah.
So nothing preventative.
Yeah. Hey, Michelle. I think the pizza man is here.
No,
So
Okay.
that's a problem.